Okay, welcome back to my channel with Growing with Grace, homesteading from the garden to the jars. I'm going to do a update today on for this week on my garden. Okay. Last week I harvested my peas. I froze them and I made baby food for my upcoming grandson, Zeke. And I'm letting the vines grow, dry up right now, as you can see. I'm going to use these for seeds next year. Over here is my green beans. Let me get down here where I can get you a better shot here. Everything is looking great. They're starting to flower. I have 3 rows of green beans here. Just beautiful plants. Over here I have my potatoes. This is the update on my potatoes. I have 4 kinds of potatoes here in the garden. They've already bloomed their flowers and the flowers are dying off. I usually harvest my potatoes when they're about 50%, the vines are about 50% dead. That's when I like to harvest my potatoes. Okay, way in the back here is 3 more rows of green beans. Okay, here we have Zach. He's just sitting there looking at me. What's that crazy lady talking to herself for out there in the garden, huh? Zach was one of our rescue dogs that we got at the Humane Society. I got him. I have a special needs son, and the 2 of them just bonded great. Right here's my corn. Every year I always plant 4 rows of corn, and then I wait about 2 weeks and I plant 2 rows of corn. And the reason why I like to plant these here a little bit later, I like to go camping, and it's so nice to have fresh corn over the campfire. So I hope every year that they come up in time so we can use them. An update on my candy onion. I'm letting it go to seed. About halfway there. Okay, over here I grow my hot peppers. I grow them away from the garden. I put these in pots and they do really great here. I have the Hungarian, I have the habaneros, I have California Reapers, I have jalapenos. There's another, I can never say it right, cayenne peppers. I grow these far away from my garden, all my hot peppers here. My hot peppers, I like to dry them out, and the other reason for all my herbs is I make my own steak seasoning, my pork seasoning, my chicken seasoning with all my herbs. And I dry some of the California Reapers. I put them in the dehydrator, I dry them, they're good on eggs. And when we go to process our pork, when we make the sausages, I give it to the Amish man and he puts that into the sausage, and I make hot sauce. One year I planted my watermelon plants right next to my hot pepper plants, and not realizing that when the bees pollinated back and forth, I ended up with some spicy watermelon. So this year I planted 2 of different kinds of watermelon plants right beside my hot pepper plants. Down through here is my cauliflower, my Brussels sprouts, and my broccoli. I have the sheets pulled off. I made a sun barrier, like the shade barrier, with the sheets. I will take the sheets, I have them clamped on the fence here, and then I have these little posts you see down through here. These little wooden posts. And so I make a shade barrier for them. I have it pulled back because we got some rain last night. I'm still harvesting kale. These 2 rows here are lima beans. I did put up a little chicken wire fence here to help for them to grab on to climb up so they're not spread all over the place. What are you doing, Sunshine? Or Sassy? Huh? Enjoying the garden? I have my artichokes. My daughter loves artichokes. That's why I'm raising. These are just for her. Oh, and her name's Melissa. Okay, I'm back. It was raining, so I had to stop. So this is the next day. I'm going to go ahead and harvest these onions. They're ready. I want to do it in the first part of the morning. These are the candy onions. These are really nice. Really nice. Look at this. Okay. I went and trimmed all my zucchinis. I'd trim out some of the leaves so there'll be some good airflow. You see, I went and trimmed up about a foot from the ground and up. I trimmed the leaves. Then I'll go in, and where I see any leaves that kind of like drop down, that go down and they have no fruit, and usually those don't produce any tomatoes. So usually I get rid of those so that all the energy goes into producing the fruit and not the leaves for the tomatoes. Down this cattle panel here, I have about 30 feet of, they're called asparagus bean. It's kind of hard to see with everything's green right now. Everything's blending in together. I've never had asparagus bean. I seen it in one of the catalogs and I'm going to try it. They say they taste like asparagus. It has like a nutty flavor to it. So this should be interesting. Over here is my California Wonder peppers. I keep these on this side of the garden away from the hot peppers so they don't cross pollinate and make these peppers a little hotter. And right here I do have, and I see where I have some jalapenos coming on right now. I forgot to mention about the asparagus. I guess the bean gets about 6 inches long. I have my herbs that I use to make my seasoning mixes. I've already picked one big bunch and dried them, and I'm getting ready to harvest more. Then I have my peppermint and spearmint plant that I use to mix sweet tea with. And it's also, believe it or not, one of the ingredients I use in my baby food. On this cattle panel, I started, here's my straight 8 cucumbers. These are the little, what do you call them? Maybe about 2-3 inch long pickling cucumbers. I'll make canned little sweet pickles out of them. And these are them Mexican cucumbers. Kind of look like little baby watermelons. Over here, this plant here, oh, here we go, this plant right here, all of this is 2 plants in one container. Let's see if I can get a better view here. These are gourds, and the other plant that I have in there is the white ghost, pumpkin, the flat pumpkin. I'm raising those there for my daughter-in-law, Jenny. In these 2 barrels here, I have watermelon. These 2 here. Over here is my cantaloupe. And I see I have right here I already have some watermelon developing. Look at that. Wow. Things are growing pretty good just in these little big round container tubs. And then this plant here, it was about to die. I planted it 2 weeks ago and it has really blossomed. Well, here's another little watermelon. Oh, actually, these here is oh, I can't think what they're called. I'll think about it probably later on in the video here. These are supposed to get about up to 200-pound watermelons. If I think about it, I'll have it noted in the video. And this pot here, for all of these are mini pumpkins. I think these did quite well in these pots this year. Now next year, you see I have the tarp down. This fall I'll pull this off and I'll put down more manure and more compost and dried leaves. And then by next spring, this will be ready to plant without the tarps. It's been here for a year. It will be very where I can take a shovel and dig right down in. Over here underneath the shade trees here, I am trying a little experiment here. I know it's hard to grow carrots this late because it's hot. So I'm trying to grow these carrots in pots where they're protected from the shade. There should be about 75 carrots between all this time I thin it out. Okay, I'm back. It was raining, so I had to stop. So this is the next day. I'm going to go ahead and harvest these onions. They're ready. I want to do it in the first part of the morning. These are the candy onions. These are really nice, really nice. Look at this. I'm really pleased with how many of these onions I got. Look at this. I ended up with 75, and these are the candy onions. What I'll do, I'll go put them and get them dried up, and then I will make powder out of them. I make my own spices and like seasonings for, like for steak seasoning and chicken seasoning and pork seasoning, and I'll use these onions for that. I want to show you an experiment I did when I'm always talking about putting grass down real thick and it helps control the weeds. So this experiment I done, I started out with soybeans. Let me show you. Okay. Down here, I planted soybeans. And in between the rows here, I laid this down real thick with grass. For some reason, the soybeans didn't come up. And so in the aisles where the green is here, these aisles here, that all became grass. So I went through and I pulled it so you could see it better. Now on the other side of the garden here, I planted soybeans and I did not put the grass down. Look what happened. So here's the two. I have half the garden here and the other half where there was no grass. A big difference in not weeding. Now that doesn't always work when you're starting new ground. When you're starting new ground, it will probably take about 2 years to get it to where you can actually put the grass down and not have hardly any weeds to weed. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. You will see a difference each year. And then eventually, once you put the grass down, you don't have to weed. Maybe 1 or 2 will pop up and that's it. Just takes a little time and a little patience for the first couple years. All right, have a good day. All right, I just got rained out, so the rain pushed me into the greenhouse here. I want to end the video here, so I'll just do it right here in the greenhouse. And so I just want to thank you again. And this is Grace with Growing with Grace from the Homestead, from the garden to the jars. And have a good evening.